My name is Claire, I'm 37, and I think I've been pretending for a lot longer than I want to admit. You ever have one of those moments that just replays? A thing you said, or didn't say, that sticks in your throat for days, weeks, maybe even years? For me, it's that afternoon on the porch when Monica, the woman who moved in next door last spring, laughed and said, "God, I just need a husband already." And without thinking, I blurted, "Can I be that?" She laughed, assuming I was joking. And maybe I was. But the way it slipped out, so naturally, so effortlessly, it scared the hell out of me. Because I meant it. Not literally, of course. Not in the white dress, picket fence sense. But in the I miss being wanted kind of way. In the I don't know who I am in my own relationship anymore kind of way. I used to feel like I belonged. Back when I first met Evan, everything felt warm. Not perfect, never perfect, but full. We used to dance barefoot in the kitchen while the coffee brewed. He'd press his lips to my neck like he couldn't help it. Mornings were late because we couldn't stay out of bed, nights were slower because we didn't want to let go. I'd watch him sleep sometimes, wondering how I'd gotten so lucky. But things shift. Not all at once. Not like a storm, more like a leak. Slow, silent, and almost invisible. Until you're standing in water and don't remember the last time you were dry. It started with little things. His hand on my lower back stopped lingering. His, "How was your day?" started coming without eye contact. He still kissed me goodnight, but it felt like brushing teeth. Routine. Functional. Dry. Sometimes he'd reach for me in bed, but the way he did, it felt more like need than want. Like I was a utility. And I'd respond, I always did, but afterward I'd lie awake, wondering if I'd ever been something more than familiar skin. I stopped wearing lipstick around the house. He never noticed. I started walking to clear my head, circling the neighborhood just to feel space. And that's how I met Monica. Funny, bright, divorced. She moved in with a loud laugh and an old Labrador. We started talking on accident. Shared wine one night on her front steps. She complimented my dress. Told me Evan was lucky. I laughed too hard. And that day, when she joked about needing a husband, it slipped out. Can I be that? It wasn't about her. It was about me. About wanting to feel seen. Desired. Chosen. The moment it hit me, when I knew something had changed for good, was stupidly small. I had cut my hair. Drastically. 11 inches gone. I stood in front of Evan, waiting. Expecting something, surprise, shock, a smile, even a joke. He looked up, blinked once, and said, "Looks fine." Then turned back to his phone. I laughed, because what else could I do? Went to the bathroom. Shut the door. And for the first time, I didn't cry. I just stood there and thought, I don't know who I am in this house anymore. And I don't think he does either. Evan's a paramedic, the kind who never really turns it off. He works 12-hour shifts, sometimes longer. He comes home smelling like antiseptic and sweat, with blood on his boots and other people's pain heavy in his shoulders. I used to find that weight noble. Sexy, even, that quiet exhaustion, the way he'd collapse into me like I was the only soft thing in a world full of hard edges. But now, it just feels like, he comes home with nothing left to give. Last Thursday, I spent the whole day cleaning. Not because he asked me to, because I needed something to feel finished. Something to feel noticed. I even made this roasted squash risotto I saw on TikTok. Took forever. Used fresh thyme and everything. I lit candles. Put on music. Wore that soft, low-cut sweater he once said he liked, the one that used to earn me a lifted eyebrow and a smirk. He walked in, dropped his bag by the door like always, and kissed me on the cheek, distracted, in autopilot. Then he slid his hand under my sweater, right there in the kitchen, while telling me about a guy who bled out on the freeway. I flinched. Not because I didn't want him, but because I felt invisible. Evan, I said, pulling his hand away. Can you just stop for a second? He blinked like I'd slapped him. What did I do? You didn't even notice the table. Or me. Or that I made something from scratch. You just touched me like I was already yours. Like you didn't have to see me first. He raised his eyebrows. Claire. I've been in an ambulance for 14 hours. A kid coded in front of me today. I'm sorry I didn't light a damn candle before kissing my wife. There it was. Wife. The word that used to make my stomach flip, now it felt like a job title. He kissed me, sure. He touched me, yes. But I felt like a habit. Not a person. I'm not mad that you kissed me, I whispered. I'm mad that you don't look at me first. He ran a hand through his hair and turned away. Jesus. I can't win with you lately. That's when I realized how bad it had gotten, that he saw my hunger for intimacy as criticism. That the thing I craved, conversation, presence, eye contact, was something he didn't know how to give anymore. Later that night, he reached for me again in bed. His palm grazed my hip. His mouth found my shoulder. I didn't move. I let him try. And it wasn't that I didn't want him. God, I missed him. But his touch felt like a shortcut, a bridge over everything we hadn't said. I wanted him to ask how I was doing. To look at me, really look, and ask, where are you tonight? Not, can I touch you? But, can I find you? Instead, we lay there. Clothes and skin, miles apart. And I stayed quiet. Because saying what I needed would have made the silence real. It was Sunday. Late morning, early sun pouring through the windows, the kind of light that used to mean slow kisses and stolen sheets. I was standing at the sink, rinsing blueberries for pancakes we both knew I didn't really want to make. The kitchen smelled like butter and coffee, and something in me wished that was enough. Evan came up behind me, arms wrapping around my waist. His chest against my back, warm, solid. Familiar. He pressed his lips to my neck, that exact spot he used to kiss when we were first dating, back when it sent chills straight down my spine. But today? I tensed. Just a little. Barely enough to notice. But I know he felt it. His lips paused. Too cold? He asked, voice muffled against my skin. No, I said quickly. Too quickly. Just startled me. He didn't pull away. Instead, he shifted closer, one hand sliding over my stomach. His thumb dipped just below the waistband of my pajama pants, casually, like it belonged there. Maybe it did. Maybe that was the problem, everything had become routine. Expected. Scheduled. You smell good, he murmured, kissing just below my ear now. I forced a small smile. It's shampoo. He laughed lightly. Well, it's working. Then came the butt slap, not hard, not crude, just playful. But it made me flinch, inside if not visibly. Something clenched. Not because it hurt. Because it felt lazy. Like a stand-in for connection. I'm making pancakes, I said too flatly, grabbing a plate from the cabinet. He leaned against the counter beside me, confused now, trying not to show it. So? Let M burn for a second. Come here. He tugged me gently toward him. His arms were soft, his eyes kind. He meant well. I knew that. God, I knew that. But when he kissed me, that slow, open-mouthed kind of kiss that used to mean everything, I felt nothing. Not revulsion. Not anger. Just blankness. Like kissing a memory. Like trying to light a match in the rain. I pulled back after a moment, too soon. I smiled to soften it. I should flip the pancakes. He stepped back, and I could see it, that subtle slump in his shoulders. The quiet sting of rejection. But he didn't press. Right, he said. Pancakes. And left the room. I stood there, flipping something I didn't even want to eat. The sizzle of the pan filled the silence. And in my head, loud as a scream, why does everything have to turn into sex? It was a Wednesday night, midweek nothingness, the kind of night we usually spent half watching a show, scrolling on our phones, eating takeout on the couch. But tonight, Evan had tried. Really tried. He made dinner. Actual dinner, salmon with asparagus and lemon couscous. Candles flickering, cloth napkins, real plates. Music playing low in the background. He even put on the button-down shirt I used to call his date night shirt. When I walked in and saw it all, my heart stuttered a little. Because it was sweet. Because it was too late. Because I didn't want to ruin it, but I also didn't know how to pretend. We sat. We ate. We made small talk, the surface kind that's safe, work, weather, gas prices. And then, in that soft space between bites, Evan said, I was talking to the guys at work today. Steve said his neighbor just got remarried. Crazy, right? Like who does that after 40? He laughed, light, casual. Probably didn't mean anything by it. But I froze. Fork halfway to my mouth. And I heard my own voice, uninvited, almost possessed, say, people get lonely. Evan looked up, surprised. What? People get lonely, I repeated, staring at my plate. Especially when they live with someone who doesn't see them anymore. The silence stretched. Tightened. What's that supposed to mean? He asked, the warmth in his voice replaced by guarded confusion. I pushed my plate away. You know what it means. No, Claire, I don't. Jesus. I cook one dinner and you're giving me crap about not seeing you? And that's when I snapped. It's not about the damn dinner, Evan. My voice cracked, sharp, louder than I meant. It's about all the nights before this one. It's about you thinking a glass of wine and lemon couscous erases the fact that I feel alone in the middle of my own marriage. His jaw tightened. So this is about sex again? Because I try, no. I nearly laughed, bitter and shaking. It's not about sex. It's about you touching me without talking to me. It's about feeling like a body you return to out of habit, not love. It's about me offering pieces of myself and getting crumbs back. I stood up. Couldn't sit still anymore. My hands were trembling. You know what the neighbor said to me the other day? I asked, eyes burning. She said she needed a husband. And you know what I said, Evan? He stared. What? I looked right at him. I said, can I be that? The air went flat. The only sound was the soft clink of cutlery and the faint hum of music still playing, stupid and romantic in the background. His face was blank, stunned, maybe hurt. But mostly, he just looked, far. Like he had no idea who I was. Wow, he said softly. You really hate me, don't you? That shattered something in me. I turned, walked to the sink, and covered my mouth with both hands as the tears came, messy, angry, humiliating. Later, after he went upstairs without a word, I stayed in the kitchen. Sat in the dark. The candle wax had burned low, pulled around the base like it had given up too. I wrapped my arms around myself, guilt and shame folding tight around my chest. I'd said too much. Or maybe just enough. I didn't even know anymore. All I could think was, I wanted to want him. I really did. But all I could feel now was the echo of my own voice. Why does everything have to turn into sex? Days passed. Then weeks. We still lived in the same house, but it felt like we were haunting it instead of living in it. Like two ghosts bumping into each other by the fridge or brushing shoulders in the hallway, unsure whether to speak or vanish. Evan stopped trying. Not in a cruel way. In a tired way. In the way a man stops poking a bruise because he's finally realized it's broken. He still made coffee in the mornings, 1 cup for him, 1 for me. He still took out the trash. Still asked me if I needed anything from the store. But his voice was flat. His eyes never lingered. He didn't reach for me at night. Didn't try to fix anything. And somehow, that hurt more than the arguing. One night, I watched him from the hallway. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees, shoulders hunched forward like the weight of everything was finally pressing down. He looked older. Not in a dramatic way, just tired. Used up. Like whatever part of him used to hope was shutting down quietly. He rubbed the back of his neck. Took a deep breath. Let it out slow. And I realized, with a kind of dull ache, I wasn't the only one in pain. He didn't know how to reach me either. Maybe he'd been trying in all the ways he did know, the physical ones, the small gestures. Maybe I'd pushed so hard for emotional intimacy, I forgot he had emotions too, ones he never learned how to name. And now here we were. 2 people staring at the same wall, blaming each other for the cracks. I missed him. God, I missed him. Not just the sex, or the affection, though I missed those too. I missed the way we used to talk in movie quotes. The way he used to call me, kid, when I was being dramatic. The way he used to open the sunroof at night just so I could look at the stars. I missed laughing with him. I missed us. But every time I thought about reaching out, saying something, anything, a voice inside me hissed, too late. He gave up. You pushed him away. So I waited. Waited for a sign. Waited for him to try. Waited for something to shift. And nothing did. One night, I sat in the car after work. Engine off, keys in my hand, heart thudding. I thought about Monica again, the way she laughed, free and unfiltered, when I said I'd be her husband. It wasn't about her. Never was. But the ease of that moment haunted me. The version of me that had said it, bold, playful, alive, felt like a stranger now. I realized I couldn't live in this in-between forever. I either had to walk toward him, really walk, or away. No more ghosts. So I sat there in the car and asked myself the hardest question of all, do I want to stay because I still love him? Or because I'm afraid of starting over? And for the first time in a long time, I didn't know the answer. I didn't plan to say anything that night. I came home late from work, intentionally. I'd stayed in the car again, scrolling nothing, pretending I had somewhere to be. When I walked in, the lights were low. Just the lamp by the couch on. Evan was sitting there, barefoot, holding a half-finished beer. The TV was on but muted. Some documentary about storms, endless clouds rolling in. He didn't look up right away. Just said, hey. Flat. Soft. Like he was bracing for something. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door. Slid off my shoes. And for some reason, maybe because I couldn't lie to myself anymore, I sat on the opposite end of the couch and just said it, I don't think we know how to find each other anymore. He looked over slowly. Not shocked. Just tired. That kind of tired that seeps into your bones when you've been carrying something too long. I know, he said quietly. That was it. No defense. No begging. Just those 2 words. I know. We sat there for a long time, letting silence do what words couldn't. Then, without speaking, he slid closer. Not like a lover. Not even like a husband. But like someone who once loved me with his whole heart and didn't know what else to offer now. He wrapped his arm around my shoulder. Pulled me gently into him. I let my head fall against his chest. Closed my eyes. I could hear his heartbeat. Steady. Familiar. And in that one moment, we weren't angry. We weren't fighting. We were just 2 people who'd tried. He kissed the top of my head. Soft. Lingering. I felt my throat tighten. Then he whispered, I'm sorry I didn't know how to love you the way you needed. I didn't respond. Because I didn't know how to say, "I'm sorry, I stopped trying to teach you." Eventually, I got up. Went upstairs. He stayed on the couch. That night, lying alone in bed, I cried into my pillow like it was a goodbye. Not the kind you scream through, but the kind you whisper. We weren't at war. But the bridge was gone. And for the first time in months, I let that truth sit with me. His love hasn't gone cold. It's just, no longer mine. You know, for a long time I thought being in love meant staying. Enduring. Patching up every crack with good intentions and quiet dinners. But I've learned that sometimes, love changes. It softens. Fades. Stops reaching for your hand in the dark. And it's no one's fault. Not really. Evan was never a bad man. He was kind, steady, and honest in his own way. But I needed more than physical closeness. I needed to be understood. And somewhere along the way, I stopped asking for that. Started shrinking. Numbing. Convincing myself that a kiss on the forehead could replace a conversation, that a back rub was the same as being seen. But desire, the kind that lasts, isn't just about skin. It's about feeling chosen. Even on a Tuesday. Even in sweatpants. Even when you're sad and distant and hard to love. Looking back, I don't think either of us knew how to meet each other where we were. We kept waiting for the other person to make the first move. And by the time I realized I still loved him, just not like before, we were already strangers who shared a fridge. So when Monica joked that she needed a husband, and I said, "Can I be that?" It wasn't about her. It was about me, aching to feel alive again. Aching to feel wanted. And I know now, you can't be someone's everything if you keep erasing yourself to belong. If I had to leave you with anything, it's this: wanting more doesn't make you ungrateful. Needing intimacy isn't selfish. And staying silent, just to keep the peace, will slowly break your heart in ways that no one else can see. Speak up. Be seen. Or one day, you'll wake up next to someone who loves your body, but hasn't looked you in the eyes in weeks. And that's the loneliest kind of love there is.